You are going to invest a very precious time in your life on something that's not easy to do.
Don't hide them. Make sure you tell us in your application about your achievements.
And when you approach and talk to the faculty that you're interested in working with, needs to be forward-looking rather than your background and previous interests.
I like to check whether the candidate's overall research interest align with my overall research interest.
The first question is about the selection of graduate students. So we are sure that you receive a lot of applications from strong candidates every year, and you must select only a few of them. So we want to ask what criteria you use to select students and what makes some candidates stand out.
Well, the first and the most important thing for me, of course, is the alignment of research interests. So that makes sure we worked along, I'm able to advise you. But how do we find that? We all need to go through all the application materials and make sure you have enough academic preparation for it by looking at the grades, personal statement, recommendation letter, and so on and so forth. I personally are very, very interested in find out is your genuine interest in research, because you are going to invest a very precious time in your life on something that's not easy to do. I think if you're not interested, it's not worth it, interested in research. And then I think personality traits will also be something I'll be looking at. Very often it's from the recommendation letters, your personal statement. Yeah, so for potential applicants, I strongly encourage you to take your personal statement very seriously, because we read it very closely.
I would be very similar in the sense that I am most interested to see what research you have been doing so far. I look to see if you have any publications that you might have been involved with as a student at your institution, especially publications in referee journals or referee conferences. I'm interested in any and all of your achievements. Don't hide them. Make sure you tell us in your application about your achievements. I also want to see what courses you've taken. I would say that technical achievements do stand out for me, so I'm interested in that, but this will really vary by faculty, even in the field of geospatial science. This will vary depending on the kinds of topics that you want to explore. I typically am looking for students who are going to fit into one or more of my active research projects, or a research project that I know is going to be starting up soon. So I'm usually kind of targeted actually in kinds of the areas that I might be looking for, and will be kind of trying to see if, you might be a good fit for one of my active projects. And I would just sort of say that, it's a two-way street. We both, through maybe a Zoom meeting, that I would always recommend that you have a Zoom meeting with any potential advisor. This can happen after the applications have gone in. There's still time to Zoom there. It could happen before the applications go in. But the advisor-student relationship is really important, because as Dr. Yao said, you're going to be studying for at least 4 years with us. We need to get along. You need to be able to trust me and like working, with me or whoever your faculty advisor is. And so we just have sort of limited opportunities to get to know each other, but we're kind of looking for that good fit, I would say.
One thing that I want to highlight, the research fit is important, and actually it is very important for me, for students, in fact, to write a good email first, because that's how you approach us. And the one common mistake we always see is just you write the same letter to all the other faculty that you are interested in working with. And I get a lot of emails that have, okay, I'm interested in remote sensing and lots of things that relate to more physical geography, which I don't really do. So the having background in those areas are important, and they could be relevant. But what I want to emphasize is that your personal statements and when you approach and talk to the faculty that you're interested in working with needs to be forward-looking rather than your background and previous interests. So think about like what you have done could relate to the future, right? So it should focus for me. It should be about future, because what kind of research interests overlap with like one of the research areas I study or I plan to study, and try to at least mention about how you think that fit is. So in that sense, I'll make one more important comment, because I mean, of course, there should be some technical background, some theoretical foundations of GI science and cartography to be able to like work with me. But at the same time, I don't really expect students to come with all skills. So skills are not that important for me. They could be developed if the student is a really good fit to the research program and they're able to explain how their future plans are. And when they ask them the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's what I asked as the first question. So why do you want to do a PhD? Why do you like research? I mean, these are like very broad questions that kind of help me understand like what the students' interests are and how it would be a good fit or not.
The most important thing I like to say is the overall research interest alignment. So I like to check whether do the candidates' overall research interest align with my overall research interest. For example, my research interest is about quantitative geospatial approaches to understanding human mobilities and health issues. That is still broad. I do not expect someone to be, aligned with very specific topic, but as long as someone's research interest is aligned with my broader research interest, I can consider it as an alignment. But the next thing is, in addition to the research experience, so for example, in my program at Virginia Tech, we hire so many master level students. And we all know that, for undergrad students, it might be difficult to have, peer-reviewed research paper experience during the undergrad program. Yeah, although I acknowledge there are so many, good undergrad students who already have the experience, but because of different contexts around the world, some people, undergrad students, might not have the experience. So in light of that, what I also consider is the overall GPA. Because that is some kind of, that's not the everything, but that is still one of the important criteria to see over like academic performance of candidate. But in addition to overall GPA, I also closely look at good academic records for specific courses that are closely related to my research interest. For example, because as I already mentioned, my research interest about quantitative GIS, spatial analysis, and calculus and algebra, something like that. So I just check candidates' record shows a reasonable, decent level of understanding of those issues, such as calculus, algebra, or like statistics. Right, so because that can still show some kind of alignment with skill and then my current research project. And then the last thing is, as I mentioned, does the candidate have meaningful research experience, such as working as co-author of peer-reviewed journal papers? But that depends on the context. If you apply for a master program, I do not expect to see many research experience as undergrad program. But if you apply for, our department also has a PhD program. If you apply for a PhD program, I do actually expect to see some strong research experience as a master student.